there, everybody! Welcome to Shiny Entertainers review of Infinity Wars! Yeah, guys, I finally watched that movie. Once again, Marvel doesn't let me into the theater to let me see it because I've been trying for at least a week and a half, and it's always full, and I finally got in to see the movie, and, well... Before I get into this movie, I want to tell you straight off that this is going to be a two-parter. First part is going to be non-spoiler, second part, spoiler. And there's a lot to spoil. Yeah, so what did I think about this movie? So, I gotta say, all the Avengers leading up to this moment, right? This is the moment we're all waiting for, right? Since the first Avengers, Thanos has been sitting on that chair, just very lazily waiting to come down to Earth and do what he has to do. His Infinity Gauntlet, and kind of a lazy guy. Takes a lot to get Thanos off his chair. Like 10 whole years and 17 movies to get off his chair. And he finally did it. And I was like, alright, damn it, I'll go get those things myself. Before I get this, I'm going to say, I have to preface all my reviews because I review movies based on their genre and what my expectation is of that genre. I have a different criteria when I'm rating a monster movie than if I was rating a drama. Because, you know, if I'm rating a monster movie and somebody puts a dramatic scene in a monster movie and I'm like, I'm okay with a dramatic scene in a monster movie, as long as it doesn't take away from the monsterness of the monster movie, I'm okay with it. Now, if they replace the monsterness of the monster movie, then there's a problem with that, right? Conversely, in a nice drama, and they throw in a monster, and the monster takes up 90% of the movie, and you don't get to see any of the dramatics, obviously, you know, we have a problem with this movie. So that's what I'm saying by, I rate these movies based on the genre, right? This is a comic book movie, based comic book action movie, right? So basing on comics and comic book action, that's what I'm basing this movie on. And what do I expect out of a comic book movie? There you go. So that's what I'm rating this on, guys. All the other stuff you want to rate it on, it's all like gravy. Is it funny? Is it got a good story? Is it, you know, all these things, what a normal good movie makes them great. If you can do all that stuff and make it comic booky and comic book actiony, fine. I'm okay with all that. But if you want to take from one to give to something that is not part of that genre, just to make it an Academy Award winning movie, but I'm like, I don't care if it wins an Academy Award. That's not what I'm there to see a movie for, guys. So that's how I judge a comic book movie. I judge them differently. And you want to give an award to a movie that makes a dramatic sequences and all that stuff, fine. But that's not why I go see those kind of movies. I go for completely different reasons. So, now after this long-winded intro, well, I'll tell you that I really enjoyed this movie. The action sequences were fantastic, okay? A lot of this movie I'm watching this kind of going, holy crap, they put so many characters and managed to get every single one their time and develop an okay villain. That's a hard thing to do. I mean, a lot of people are picking on Thanos. I've seen other comments. Other people picking on Thanos because they maybe wasn't as realized as certain other villains. But I'm like, you really have to take what this movie's doing into context when you rate it. It's not like it's got 4 superheroes like Justice League. It's got like 1 million characters, and these are all people who are actors that we all know, and they all want their screen time. And we also have fans of these characters that want to see them get their screen time, and they all get their moments. And you still get a little development with the villain, right? It's hard to do. It's hard to balance everything. I'm pretty sure they had to cut out a bunch of stuff. I think they cut out 30 minutes out of this movie just so that they can, you know, fit it all in. I mean, you don't want to sit through 6 hours. I'm sure if they wanted to make a perfect movie, they would have made it 6 hours. But in this kind of movie, you can't do that. So they actually had to, you know, cut and paste and make the best of what they could with it. So you gotta also give it credit for that, right? And it never felt sloppy. It never felt like, why are they doing this? You know, there was always a purpose for whatever was happening, right? There was never a scene where you go, why are they going to this planet and fighting rich people? You know, there was never a casino scene on the side. It was every scene that happened in this movie had a purpose towards the main storyline, right? So, and that's also a very hard thing to do. Like I said, the amount of bloody characters in this movie. You know, it astounds me that they did that so well. There was some fantastic sequences, some fantastic action. I'd say that a lot of this movie, you know, you're sitting in awe. There's a lot of epic moments. The whole movie, my jaw was just like, what the hell am I watching here? This is incredible. Like, it was so well done, and it's a great movie. Now, I'm going to talk about it being a comic book movie and how I have to grade it in a different way. Now, that's just my view of it as a movie. As a comic book movie, I have to review it on a different level. You know, the story was good, yes, and people will argue that the story was thin. I mean, yeah, it's just a big mad villain coming in and wants to destroy the world, right? Okay, sure. He's got a motive in this one, which makes him a little different, makes him a little bit more passionate. You kind of sense that there is a compassion in Thanos, that he's not just doing it because, I mean, he is obviously a psychopath, but he's doing it as a moral psychopath, or in his own creative, like his own version of a moral psychopath, right? He believes the nonsense he believes, right? He's pushing. Like, they didn't go into too much depth with it, like the whys in the house, and I really don't care either. I don't expect that in this kind of movie. It's a superhero movie, and I'm not looking for Hannibal Lecter. I'm not looking for depth in the villain. I'm just looking for a villain that can kick some ass and throw some superheroes around, and they have to fight, right? And that's what I'm looking for, and they gave it to me. And they gave it to me with a little extra, a little seasoning, a little salt, a little oregano. Make it a sunrise. So they did it with a little bit of that, right? You know, they didn't just get Apocalypse out of the ground and say, you know, hey Smiley, I called them pucker lips. Hey, pucker lips, go out there and just kill for the sake of killing. He had semi-reasons for what he did. But here's where it starts to break down for me as a movie. Not break down, I mean, like I said, it's got so many highs that the lows or the problems with it are very forgivable. And that's kind of what I mean when I say a lot of times that if this movie did the meat and potatoes well, then all the extra stuff in the side, you know, I wouldn't be so nitpicky about. But if the meat and potatoes aren't done properly, the heart of the meal wasn't done properly. I love my food analogies. The heart of the meal, if that's not cohesive and doesn't work, then I'm going to be extra hard on all the other stuff. So because this part was really good, all the other stuff I can forgive. And I was a lot of stuff that I will say was annoying. Okay, and one of the examples are the inconsistencies of the powers are very annoying. Thanos' powers especially, one minute he's flicking people out like they're garbage and, like, you know, beating people without any stress at all. And then other times it looks like he's either playing games with you or he's not trying his fullest, which you're understanding why are you not trying? Like, is there a reason why you're not trying? You see everybody else trying. Why aren't you trying, Thanos? Huh? Where's your heart, man? You gotta try. You know you got to try. Right? You gotta try, buddy. And you're not trying hard enough then. Because there's a lot of times where you're like, shouldn't he be dead? And you're like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if Thanos wanted to, you'd be dead. But he didn't, which makes him, he's a nice guy. He's a nice evil villain that wants to destroy the world. He's conflicted. He's got emotions. He does. He does have emotions in this, guys. He's not a heartless soul. But, you know, at the same time, he's just like, I didn't see you having a problem in this scene doing that, and yet in this scene, you kind of, you know, you just didn't do it. So I'm like, why? What happened between this scene and that scene? You know, did you read a moral book? Were you visited by 3 ghosts from this scene to this scene that made you sort of now have less of a penchant for killing? That's all I have with Thanos' character. My biggest issue with him. My biggest issue with all the other characters were inconsistencies of powers. Certain characters I thought should have been more powerful. Some characters were too powerful and doing things I didn't believe were possible. But you know what? I can nitpick that in most superhero movies. And when you really think of, like, Spider-Man Homecoming, I'm like, where the hell is his spider sense? He gets cold-cocked, not, you know, from walking out of a corner of the bus and Shocker surprise attacks him. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Spider-Man has something called spider senses, which tends to work even without his control. He tends to just react. It's not even something he controls. It's just a natural reaction that in danger comes, he reacts and he jumps. And I know that he does that because in Dr. Octopus usually uses that against him, where he'll attack him with some legs on this side, make Spider-Man jump in this direction, and then catch Spider-Man in that way, knowing that he could just use his own instincts against him, which I love. That's what I love about Dr. Octopus as a villain. You know, when Shocker comes up behind Spider-Man and just, you know, cold cocks him and he didn't see it coming, I'm like, Spider-Man would have already jumped. So this is what I'm saying. Like, there was a lot of that going on in this movie where heroes would forget, or they had powers in certain moments, and then other moments they had powers that I don't understand how they got, and you know, that kind of distracted me a little bit while I was watching it, because I'm like, why? Why not? Why did they? Okay, whatever. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. Let's watch this. Let's enjoy it, right, for what it was. And it was also a very dark movie. It had its light moments and comedy moments like every Marvel movie does, but it also had a lot of darkness in it, and the darkness... I'm blind! That's how dark it was at times, guys. So, just so you know, a little warning, don't take your kids to see this movie. 5 years and up, if you're like gonna take your 8-year-old child to see this movie or something, just like don't tell them. Just don't do it. Leave them at home. That's as much of a spoiler I'm gonna get for this part of the review. So it wasn't a perfect movie. There was a lot of really good sex scenes and great moments. It also has to be judged differently because it's still not a complete story. It's still only half of a story. Even though it's a full movie, it's only half the story. We know that the other half is going, and so it's kind of like, I still want to kind of reserve all my judgment of this movie based on what they do in the next movie, because I don't want them to, you know, Last Jedi this with me and give me half of a movie that I think is okay, and then the other half I'm like, alright, you just... So I still kind of holding my reservations on this movie based on what they do in the next one, because the next one could ruin how I feel about this one, and so that's why I kind of reserve my judgment. Based on this movie alone though, yes, I really enjoyed it. It gave me some stuff that I just had never seen before. Great cinematically, it was fun, it was funny, and it was dark. I'm not a big keen guy on the darkness, I'm a light, happy, fun guy. Anyway guys, now I'm getting into the spoiler review, guys. Alright, so just so you know, if you don't want to be spoiled, I'm going to drink my Joe. By the time I drink is a zipper Joe, then I'm going to spoil a whole bunch. Ready? One more. Maxwell House. Goes in smooth, comes out even smoother. Alright guys, by the way, I'm not being sponsored by Maxwell House. But Maxwell House, that was a freebie. The next one, cha-ching. Alright guys, so now for the spoiler part of the review. This part I'm going to get down and dirty with it. Remember this guy? Where did he touch you? Where did the Russo brothers touch you, little boy? Some people say he touched you here. Below the clavicle, on the left-hand side. Somebody touched me there. Someone touched someone here. Someone touched someone here. But everybody got touched by this movie. And not everybody liked it. Let's just say that much. Because some people don't like to be touched in certain no-no areas. And the Russo brothers touched certain people. And it wasn't just him, because it's in the comics, so they were following the comics. So let's just say the guy who wrote the comic, the Infinity Gauntlet comic, originally, yeah, they touched people. Because what happened is what happens in the comic, more or less. Not word for word, not exact, but, you know, the meat and potatoes is what I'm saying. Can't fault the Russo brothers for this completely, nor Disney, but I'm starting to see a trend in Disney, and I'm looking at you guys, right? Ha! Hey, Mickey, you know, what's next? Are you gonna, like, kill off Goofy in the next Disney Christmas movie? Huh? I'm looking at you. I go, ha! Hey! Well! Everybody, here's Donald, here's Minnie, here's Goofy, hey, Pluto! And then just snap their necks for all the kids to see. Is that what you're gonna do? Kill half of them? Because I'm trying to get your logic here, because these movies are supposed to be fun, right? I recall they were fun. I remember that was the whole thing. DC was dark and not as fun, and Marvel was the fun one. You were the fun uncle, remember? There's always the dickhead uncle that touches you, and then you were always the fun uncle. Now you're becoming more like this uncle who's touching people, and so I'm trying to figure out which uncle Walt Disney is right now, because I mean, Thor Ragnarok killed half the block. I'm just trying to figure out what your modus operandi is here, because it's no longer being happy. I mean, the Civil War ended kind of dark. Were you just sort of edging towards darkness? Because I'm trying to see. You know, you own Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm killing off everybody you love, so I'm trying to figure out your motive operandi here. Mickey, and I'm looking at you right now. Now, I get it, guys, you're yelling into the screen, it wasn't Mickey Mouse's fault, he didn't write the comic. I know this comic had them all dying. I get that. And now listen, everything I said still stands for this movie. My biggest gripe with this movie, as a comic book movie, is the fact that I enjoy it based on it making me feel good, right? That's what a movie is for. You see heroic people doing heroic things, making ultimate sacrifices, sure, that's part of it. But you have to understand, when I was a kid, Alright? And you were kids too, guys. Remember when you were kids? Guys watching me, remember when you were 5, 6, watching Saturday morning cartoons? Watching Spider-Man? Do you remember that, guys? You remember enjoying yourselves? Now picture you as a kid. Just picture yourself as a child. You may be eating your bologna sandwiches, your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in front of the cartoons and Saturday morning, watching Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Spider-Man and his amazing friends. And you're just thinking, super friends. Oh, thanks, super friends. Getting all excited, and then, at the end of the season, they just kill half of your heroes. Well, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? What happened to Spider-Man? Why is he crying? Okay, I'm gonna just take a little side tangent here because nothing really bothered me. Like, the deaths didn't bother me really because me as an adult, okay? Nothing, it didn't bother me. My wife went to see it with me. She was traumatized more than I was. I was expecting this, to be honest with you. The minute I saw Doctor Strange doing the thing, and then he was like, well, there's only one possibility. I could only see one possible outcome that was good. I knew right away that when he decided to give up the stone to Thanos to save Tony, I knew right away that half of them were dying, if not more. Because, I could read the signs. Simple arithmetic. And so I knew that. And then when he said Endgame, I was pretty much realizing that was a bunch of sacrifices were going to happen. And not to mention, I know the comic. I already expected that. And I know they're coming back, guys. I get that. And everyone's screaming at me, oh, but they're coming back. Why are you crying about it? I want you to misunderstand me. I'm not crying that they died. I kind of know they should have died in this movie. I get that. My issue with this movie is that it ends on a note without hope. I was at least expecting in the after credit scene for some emoticon of hope. Now, I know people are going to call that a cop-out. People will say, well, it's going to be like that scene in the Justice League when Superman, or Batman v Superman, when Superman dies, and then we see the coffin rumbling. But that was enough to say he's coming back. Now, I know he was coming back. You know he was coming back. That scene wasn't done for me and you. That scene was done for the 6-year-old kid that doesn't know that he's coming back. You understand? You stop being so selfish. These movies are not for us alone. In fact, we're lucky as adults we can enjoy this movie. But this movie primarily is for kids. We saw Spider-Man as children. We were raised with him, and now we love him as adults. We have to give the kids the same experience. We wouldn't have been good for us to see when we were kids our entire lineup of heroes die in a movie, because in a cartoon, they could do that. Even if they did that in a cartoon, it would be stupid, but they could still get away with that in a cartoon because you see it next week. They'll be back, okay? Because it's only a week. This one, in a year, 2 years? This is a traumatizing experience for a lot of kids. Maybe some kids aren't going to be traumatized. Maybe it's fine for some kids. But a lot of kids are going to have that. I mean, my wife was... Guys, stop making crimes during my videos. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? We gotta remember that these movies are for kids. And I know that it's for all of us to enjoy. But we have to make it for them to enjoy. And up till now, these movies have had action, yes, there's been violence, but it's always had a limit. This one, they're cracking necks, guys. Okay? I mean, Loki is a character people love. And they cracked his neck like it was... And you heard the pop. And the way Spider-Man went. I mean, think about that as a child. As a grown-up, I was gonna bawl. As a kid watching my favorite superhero. And him, like... I feel so good, Mr. Stark. I don't want to die. And he just fades away. That was crippling, man. It was emotionally crippling. Now, are you going for an Oscar? If you think you're gonna win an Oscar, Russo brothers, with that performance, with this sort of dramatics, you're not going to do it. It's a comic book movie. Very rarely that you're going to win. There was no point in that. Dragging it out like that. I get it. As an adult, as a person just watching a movie, as a normal movie, you go, wow, that's an incredible scene. Wow, these are incredible moments. I'm taking myself out of the equation and I'm inserting a little Shaney kid.
Hi, the little Shaney inside of me that's looking at eating this Cheerios, going, I'm going to watch the Avengers and oh my God, they all died.
Right? So, but it was PG, whatever. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't have been that way. This is for kids. You want to see snapping of necks, go watch Deadpool. Go watch Wolverine. There's movies for adults that are for that, but this is for everyone to enjoy. My issue with this movie doesn't stem from the story, doesn't stem from the fact that they killed people. I get that in the storyline, I get that it was in the comic, I get all that. And I'm not even saying that they shouldn't have done it, which they obviously should have, because it's, it's what happened, so it has to be done. It's the way they left it that bothers me, that they left it in a hopeless place. They could have given you a little hope, but I still did enjoy this movie, and I still put this on a movie I personally like as an adult. I'm more just like taking myself out of it and saying, would I enjoy this if I was a kid, and would it bother me? And I saw as a kid Transformers, the movie. They killed Optimus Prime. They killed the entire lineup that I used to love and play with, and they never came back. And yes, that did bother me. It did bother me, and that's why I'm thinking about it right now. Because I'm like, I wanted to spare this pain for these kids, because that did bother me at the time, and now I'm seeing this kind of relived through these kids, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm looking at kids walking out of the theater, and their looks on their faces and even a guy who was sitting next to me, who I don't even know, and he was like he was a teenager, but still. He looked traumatized too. He kept looking at the screen going, well, we get the point. Stop it already. We get it. Why do you keep dragging it out? And then even in the after credits scene, okay, maybe they're going to give us a little hope in this scene. No. They just hammered the darkness even more. Oh, they gave you a little hope with the pager to Captain Marvel, who we don't give a crap about right now because they never showed us her. Maybe that scene would have been more impactful had that movie come first. We all know that symbol, right, guys? It didn't mean anything. It's not like he flashed and it was Superman's symbol. Or someone that we recognize. I mean, okay, maybe the hardcore comic book knowers know who she is, but the rest of us aren't going to know. So that's kind of a moot thing, right? So, like, who cares? Now, I get it. Everyone says, oh, there has to be stakes. And in these movies, the problem with these movies is that there's no stakes, because if no one dies, then who cares, right? There's nothing to lose, nothing, and then it just becomes hollow. We know they're coming back in this movie. There is no stakes here, right? They're not in the comic book. Guys, spoiler, if you don't want to be spoiled what happened in the comic, then go. I don't want to be rude. Don't go like that. Just take a leave of absence. I didn't mean to say like, get out of here! Leave! The door's over there! That's not my style. I just sort of meant, just excuse yourself from the conversation. But in the comic, I think this is what happens from my recollection, is that I think someone eventually reverses time. I don't know who does it. I know someone eventually goes back in time, and I think it was Gamora's sister steals the gauntlet, and then she uses the time stone and reverses time, and then they make it an alternate timeline, and then they warn the Avengers again about what's about to happen, giving them a second chance to defeat Thanos. Round 2, so to speak. And then they have a little better luck the second time around. Now, I don't know if that's what they're going to do here. I don't. Obviously, this could be completely different. But that's more likely what I think is going to happen, because they've been kind of going with what the comic has been doing. So they're probably going to rewind time, and all these guys are going to come back. So let's be honest here. That's already a cop-out. This whole movie's going to be a cop-out, so that's not an excuse. You know they're all coming back. They're not taking out Spider-Man from the universe. They're definitely not doing that. They're not, the amount of money that Black Panther made, they're not getting rid of him. They're not getting rid of, doesn't the Black Widow have a movie coming out? They're not getting rid of her, okay? They're not getting rid of 90%. All these guys are coming back. I guarantee you Loki will be back. I know everyone's like, oh, this is the finale. Nah, Loki will be back. He's the only good villain that this entire universe has, other than Thanos. He'll be back. So, already knowing that, this already feels cheapened because of that. You know they're coming back. Had they only killed one villain, or only killed one hero, that would have been far more impactful. Because, let's just say they had killed what I thought was going to happen. They were going to kill Captain America or Iron Man. Now, had they done that, even if they brought Iron Man back, or Thor, when everyone thought he was dead, right? Even if they had only just killed one of our heroes, right? That would have probably been more impactful because, as an adult, because that would have probably made us believe that it was going to stick. If it was just that one character or two that went, you probably would have been like, okay, that's final. And that's where you get the real stakes. One or two deaths, you could probably get away with and say, this is probably going to stick, and this is hurtful. But when you wipe everybody out the way they did, and try to make it so emotional and hurtful and all that stuff, it was a moot point, and they're just coming back. You know it. So just to say that this is a brave thing, it's not really. Because they are coming back. Don't tell me they're not. They definitely are. So that would be ridiculous to suggest. And if they don't come back, well, that's even forget our normal universe. I think no one's going to watch another movie ever again if that ever happens. So they'll destroy their own franchise. So wonderful for them. It's definitely not going to happen. So to say that the stakes or something that were raised because of this, it's not true. It actually is. If they only killed one, I would have believed the stakes being raised, but they killed everybody and all these important people. Definitely stakes aren't being raised. So that's what goes to my point of knowing that there really is no real stakes. Then to make this emotional traumatizing experience and again, I'm taking myself out of the equation. I didn't feel that, but I know those that did. Around me, I was watching the theater, and I was almost feeling empathy for the people around me that were young, that I could see them cry. I was seeing people. My wife almost cried. She was freaking almost crying. I was looking at faces here. The guy next to me almost made me bawl and he was a teenager, and he was just like, "Will you stop it already?" Like I almost cried watching this dude because it was bad. I was like, okay, I want to give him a hug. I don't know who this guy is, and I don't know about stranger danger. I know about stranger danger, but then I felt like, come here, it'll be okay. They'll all be back. They'll all be back. I wanted to, this poor guy. But nowadays you can't touch kids. You can't touch this. Right? So we gotta understand when you're making these Russo brothers. I know you're not watching this, but hopefully this gets to you guys and other people. And at Disney, like Mickey Mouse, what's the deal here? Is this more nihilism that you guys are trying to push towards people? Because I'm starting to see a real push of nihilistic views on people. Like, hey guys, remember hope? Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, that's not why you go to see superhero hopeful movies. So all I asked for was one scene just to give us a little shining glimpse that something was going to happen. You know what I mean? Maybe just something. Have it as an end credit scene. I don't care. But they should have done something. I don't think it would have lessened the impact because we all, just like I knew Superman was coming back. Come on, guys. If you didn't know Superman was coming back and that vibrating ruined it for us. Yeah, because they were going to make a Justice League movie without Superman, right, guys? That was definitely going to happen here. Yeah, Mr. Justice League was not going to be in the Justice League. Come on. We all knew he was coming back. And if you didn't think he was coming back, well, I don't know what to tell you. There's obviously something wrong with you. Either you're really young and don't get it, and that's what I'm saying. Because the only people who got hurt, and the only people who were fooled, and the only people who this affected were either the real naive or the real young. And either way, there's no sense in that, because there is no finality to this. So there's no point in doing it. It's a moot point. I know I'm going on this tangent, but because I'm kind of getting sick and tired of this stuff in movies where they just destroy for the sake of destruction. It's like they don't want to give hope anymore in these kind of movies. And I'm sorry, but like, this is why I go see superhero movies. I go see superhero movies because life is so seemingly hopeless in reality that you kind of want to escape from that into the superhero realm where dreams can come true. Remember Disney used to tell us dreams could come true? Do you remember they used to tell us, come to Disneyland and everything your dreams will come true? And then the next commercial for Disneyland is going to have, come to Disneyland where all your dreams will come true. And then half the people die in the Ferris wheel. At Pirates of the Caribbean ride, all the pirates come alive and start stabbing half of the customers in the stomach. And everyone's going, what happened to little Tommy? He went to the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. And Captain Jack Sparrow went crazy. Come to my ride and watch me stab you right through the stomach. Savvy. I'm really getting sick and tired of this in these movies. I don't go to see them for that, and I know I'm a little ranty on this, because I loved the movie, guys. I liked this movie. I don't want everyone to say, well, why didn't you like? I loved the movie. I loved it. As an adult male, I loved this movie. As a person who can handle this mature way, I liked it. My wife watched this movie. She did not. She was angry at the end of it. Her exact words were, when she saw this, was, I paid money to see all my heroes die. That was her exact words. Her exact words. And I had to go, don't worry, honey. They'll be back. They'll be back. And then I realized that it was the guy next door. My wife was on that side. Ah! They had the same hair. They wore the same aftershave. I had to talk to my wife because she was really upset by this. She's not a comic book follower. She doesn't know. I don't even know if she knows that there was a second part to this. she just kind of went in cold, going like, hey, what's going on here? I watched all the movies up till now. I want to see good action. And then she sees half of them die. And she's like, wait a minute, what the hell? The villain wins, and the heroes die, and there's no hope at the end for anything. So, obviously I told her what was going down, but it didn't lighten her mood. She was still pretty angry. That's what I'm trying to say, guys. As a movie, this is fantastic. As a comic book movie for kids, as I'm judging it as a comic book movie for kids. Now, I understand people say, oh, it's for everybody. Exactly. If it's for everybody, then you have to include kids. It gave me what I wanted as an adult, but did it give me what I would have wanted if I was a kid? And no. I mean, when they're snapping necks, stabbing people, killing ruthlessly, characters, it's not for kids. And that's my point. It ranks up there with Superman snapping Zod's neck, and this is even worse than that. And I complained about that issue. I complained about Batman shooting people with guns in Batman v Superman and running people over. I complained about all that stuff, so I have to complain about this too. I have to complain that Disney's now following suit with that nonsense. And I get it, this isn't a comic, I understand that, right? But they could have lightened it up a little bit. Understanding that they were going to do this, they should have at least allowed for hope for the little kids. And that's all I'm trying to say, guys. That's all. I know I don't want any people in the comments going, blah, 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 blah. Guys, this is not just for me. This is not just for you. Understand? This is for little kids too. We're all trying to enjoy this together. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. I did love the movie as a movie. And yes, I look forward to the second one. And I'm definitely going to see the second one. I love it. That goes without saying. I mean, there's so many scenes in this movie that I just were taken back by. And that's why I could forgive so much of the little annoyances of power inconsistencies. Spider-Man being hogtied by Star-Lord. I just thought that was a bit much. I mean, Spider-Man would never... What's going on? That scene annoyed me. There was a few other ones, like Captain America getting knocked around by Thanos and not dying, holding the gauntlet when you saw, pretty much 10-second beating that the Hulk took, and yet Captain America. I thought Vision was probably the one handled the worst. I understand that they stabbed him right away with that thing, but he was so powerful before. Like, he single-handedly destroyed a villain that the entire Avengers couldn't defeat. Ultron was taking on the entire Avengers. That just shows how powerful he was, and he was kind of treated like a little baby in this. Like he needed protection, and he was running, they're gonna get my Infinity Stone, it was just like, no, you're a fighter. Anyone could pluck that stone out of your head then. And any villain could do that and kill you. Why does it matter whether Thanos does it or whether Ultron does it? It doesn't matter. Anyone who's gonna pluck, you have to fight, right? You're no vulnerable than a guy plucking... Look, Thanos could have plucked out Iron Man's heart. Or, snapped a neck, right? It doesn't matter. Why does it matter? Because he's taking that stone directly coming after you, and so everyone's going to stand in the way and die for that? In the end, I get that whole sacrifice thing, but they should have made it more... He was like a little baby, useless baby in this movie, and I felt that was injustice to his character. But again, there was so much great stuff in this movie that didn't bother me quite as much. And Cap without a shield the whole time was just sort of silly. Like, why? Are they going to make this big moment in the next part? Maybe. So I'm looking forward to hopefully they do that in the next one. Because him without a shield is just like, I didn't even say, get this man a shield. I mean, that was annoying too, because it was like, that's what Black Panther says, get him a shield. And then you thought he was going to come at least with a silver round shield. Something, like, it's vibranium, so get him a Captain America shield here. That's why we go see Captain America, to see him in a shield, not him in this, what the hell, that's not even a shield, it's like an extension of a glove. Well, this is my shield, guys. No, he uses his shield in specific ways for a specific action. And so when they took his shield out and said, give the man a shield, and they give him that nonsense, that was annoying as well. Again, like I said, that just shows you how good some of the other stuff was, because for those things to be forgiven, and those things in other movies would have been a killer, would have been a stab wound to death in a movie. But these ones, I forgave those, because the way everything else was done so well, and the fact, the sheer vastness of this movie and what they had to get right. I mean, they're dealing with so many characters, and to get everybody to, there's going to be inconsistencies and things like that to get the story to work. So, it's such a hard process to do, and to do it right, that you gotta forgive that stuff because they did this stuff right. The story made sense. The story was like powerful. It was impactful. So because they did that, they had to get this part right, and they sacrificed from these little parts. Now, if they got these little parts right, they would have sacrificed from this part. The story has to come first. In a little story with 2 characters, if they cannot manage that, that's a problem. But in a story with 40 characters and having to serve 40 people and 40 egos and 40 stars or whatever they... And give them their old time, and at the same time I'm pretty sure they would probably say, well, he has to be this strong, and he has to be this strong, and he has to, and all that nonsense that these movies tend to have, and to still make a cohesive story work, you have to pass this. You have to forgive it. It's like doing a mathematical equation, like an astrophysics level, and getting it to make sense at the end. You have to play with the numbers a bit, and that's kind of what they did. They played with the physics numbers to make it work. You had to add multiple universes and things to make the math work. And that's kind of what they did. So I forgive it for that. The problem that I just have a hard time with, it kind of hurt me, was watching other people cry in the theater. And that kind of bothered me. So that's why I'm saying this, guys. Shane doesn't like crying. Not in the superhero movies. Not to this degree. A little crying is fine. This was just... Give us a little bit. Just that guy beside me really bothered me. He was like, I remember when the final credits sequence went, and this guy is like, all right, stop it! I swear he said that. I swear. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to hug this strange person I don't know. I didn't want to grab him. It's okay. Hug both me and my wife. Let's go. Shaney's got you. That got to me a little bit, right? As I'm like, there's no need for that. He was like, stop it already. I'm like, yeah, he's just asking for this. Just give him a little hope, a sniff, a vibration of the coffin. that kind of a thing. I didn't want him to change the ending. I know I just wanted a little hope, a little extra scene to say, hey guys, don't worry. This isn't final, and we know it's not final, but some don't. And some probably still traumatized, even knowing that. So, anyway, guys, that's my review of this movie. Just for the record, guys, I'm not an either-or guy. I love both equally. Love DC. I wish DC would get their shit together. Like I've even said, I did like the Avengers movie. The Justice League movie, for different reasons. Obviously, it wasn't a masterpiece. This is more of a masterpiece than the Justice League movie is. But it had flaws. It was a masterpiece in one end, but it had flaws in the other end, and it wasn't a perfect movie. And I recommend people going to see it, just leave your kids at home. Or then at least tell them at the end what's happening, let them know, make a judgment for themselves. Because you're going to have that happen to you. The kids are going to why Spider-Man's crying to be alive. I don't want to die. I don't want to hear that in my hero. I don't want to hear that from my hero. I just don't. And I don't want my kid to hear that. I don't have a kid, but if I did, I wouldn't want him to hear that. So anyway, guys, that's what I have to say. So sorry I've said it 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again. So if you like my review, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and all that sort of goodness. And till next time. Is everyone here? Is everybody still here?